Hi, everyone. Welcome to our we think it's fifth annual Poetry Out Loud school competition. For those of you that don't know who are out there watching, this is a national competition that is taking place all over the country right now. The students who are here tonight were the winners of their classroom competitions. So we're already really proud of the work that they've done. We know that they're out here tonight and they're really nervous, but also really thankful that they have you there to support them. So make sure no matter what happens tonight, you give your kids a big hug, high five, maybe some extra dessert, for the hard work that they're doing. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our judges. We have Sarah D'Angelatonio, who is a professor at Franklin Pierce University, Mr. Jacob Farrell, who has been a teacher with us at Conant, and Mrs. Kelly Budd, our school media specialist. The way the rounds will work tonight is the students will each come up and do their first round poems. Then we'll take a brief 5 or 6 minutes break so everybody can get water. We'll do round 2, and then we'll take a brief break while the talliers tally up their scores. Tallying our scores tonight and making sure everybody's math is correct is Mark Haley and Charlotte Elwell, and we're super grateful that they've agreed to come back again and do this for us. And then we will announce the first, second, and third place winners. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce our first contestant, Mr. Levi Barker.
All Hallows Eve by Dorothy Tanning. Sit perfect. That was wrong. Okay. Can I try again? All right. All Hallows Eve by Dorothy Tanning. Be perfect. Make it otherwise. Yesterday is torn in shreds. Lightning's 1,000 sulfur eyes rip apart the breathing beds. Here bones crack and pulverize. Doom creeps in on rubber treads. Countless overwrought housewives, minds unraveling like threads. Line. Try lipstick shades to tranquilize. Fears of age and general dreads. Line again, please. Sit tight, be perfect, swat the spies. Don't take faucets for fountainheads, otherwise you and the werewolf newlyweds.
Next up, we have John Ciglar.
Prince by Joseph Bruchac. Seeing photos of ancestors a century past is like looking at your own fingerprints. Circles and lines you can't recognize until someone else with a stranger's eye looks close and says, "That's you."
Our next poet is Kaden Colby.
Lucille's Roaches by Cameron Awkward Rich, after Lucille Clifton. O winged walker, motley brood, and brood underneath the underneath. You formidable residual, derelict carried to this country by the dread Atlantic wind. What did you see to make but yourself and yourself? Foul architect, teeming queen of rot, whereas you survive, whereas your death is an industry. Whereas on the television, in this century of television, a woman wears you as a living jewel, rubied carapace on a gold leash. Whereas beauty was never meant to be your name. O harbinger of harbingers, O little unending night. Whereas murder, too, was never right. They're just a sound for what we do to the dark. Oh, a sound I fear is the only sound I know.
Next, we have Kaia Colby.
An Autumn Sunset by Edith Wharton. Leaguered in fire. The wild black promontories of the coast extend their savage silhouettes. The sun in universal carnage sets, and halting higher The motionless storm clouds mass their sullen threats like an advancing mob in sword points penned that balked, yet stands at bay. Mid-zenith hangs the fascinated day in wind-lustrated hollows crystalline. A wan Valkyrie, whose wide pinions shine across the ensanguined ruins of the fray, and in her hand swings high o'erhead above the waster of war the silver torchlight of the evening star, wherewith to search the faces of the dead. Lagooned in gold, seem not those jetty promontories, rather the outposts of some ancient land forlorn, uncomforted of morn, where old oblivions gather. The melancholy, unconsoling fold of all things that go utterly to death, and mix no more with life's perpetually awakening breath? Shall time not ferry me to such a shore, over such sailless seas, to walk with hopes slain, importunities in miserable marriage? Nay, shall not all things be there forgot, save the sea's golden barrier and the black close crouching promontories? Dead to all shames, forgotten of all glories, shall I not wander there, a shadow's shade, a spectre self-destroyed, so purged of all remembrance and sucked back into the primal void that should we on the shore phantasmal meet? I should not know the coming of your feet.
Our next poet is Josiah Niemela.
Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. Some say the whirlwind and fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice.
Next, we have Sophia O'Neill.
Flirtation by Rita Dove. After all, there was no need to say anything at first. An orange peeled and quartered flares, like a tulip on a Wedgwood plate. Anything can happen. Outside, the sun has rolled up her rugs, and night strewn salt across the sky. Quiet's cool flesh, let's sniff and eat. There are many ways to make of the moment a topiary. So the pleasure's in walking through.
Our next poet is Izabelle Rollins.
Rain by Kazim Ali. With thick strokes of ink, the sky fills with rain, pretending to run for cover, but secretly praying for more rain. Over the echo of the water, I hear a voice saying my name. No one in the city moves under the quick, sightless rain. The pages of my notebook soak, then curl. I've written yogists open their mouths for hours to drink the rain. The sky is a bowl of dark water, rinsing your face. The window trembles. Liquid glass could shatter into rain. I am a dark bowl, waiting to be filled. If I open my mouth now, I could drown in the rain. I hurry home as though someone is there waiting for me. The night collapses into your skin. I am the rain.
Next up, we have Caleb Tremblay.
An Apology for Our Poetry by Duchess of Newcastle, Margaret Cavendish. I language want to dress my fancies in, the hairs uncurled, the garments loose and thin. Had they but silver lace to make them gay, they'd be more courted than in poor array. Or had they art, would make a better show. But they are plain, yet cleanly do they go. The world in bravery doth take delight, and glistering shows do more attract the sight. And everyone doth honor a rich hood, as if the outside made the inside good. And everyone doth bow and give place, not for the man's sake, but the silver lace. Let me entreat into my poor book's behalf, that all will not adore the golden calf. Consider, pray, gold hath no life therein, and life in nature is the richest thing. Be just, let fancy have the upper place, and then my verses may perchance find grace.
Our next poet is Zoe Upward.
Say This by Lucia Perillo. I live a small life, barely bigger than a speck, barely more than a blip on the radar sweep, though it is not nothing. As the garter snake climbs the rock rose shrub and the squirrel creeps on bramble thorns, not nothing to the crows who heckle from the crowns of the last light's trees, winter stripped of green, except for the bowls that ivy winds each hour round. See, the world is busy and the world is quick. Barely time for a spider to suck the juice from a hawk moth's head so it can use the moth as a spindle that it wraps in fiber while the moth constricts until it's thin as a stick. You might think was nothing, a random bit, caught in a web, coming loose from the window frame in wind.
Our next poet is Emryn Vitello.
The Poet as Hero by Siegfried Sassoon. You've heard me scornful, harsh, and discontented, mocking and loathing war. You've asked me why, of my old silly sweetness I've repented. My ecstasy's changed to an ugly cry. You are aware that once I sought the grail, riding in armor, bright, serene, and strong. And it was told that through my infant wail, there rose immortal semblances of song. But now I've said goodbye to Galahad and am no more the knight of dreams and show. For lust and senseless hatred make me glad, and my killed friends are with me where I go. Wound for red, wound I burn to smite their wrongs, and there is absolution in my songs.
Next up, we have Ella Weinmann.
It Was Not Death, for I Stood Up by Emily Dickinson. It was not death, for I stood up, and all the dead lied down. It was not night, for all the bells put out their tongues for noon. It was not frost, for on my flesh I felt Sirocco's crawl. Nor fire, for just my marble feet could keep a chancel cool. And yet, it tasted like them all. The figures I have seen, set orderly for burial, reminded me of mine, as if my life were shaven and fitted to a frame and could not breathe without a key. And 'twas like midnight, some, when everything that ticked has stopped and space stares all around, or grisly frosts, first autumn morns repeal the beating ground. But most, like chaos, stopless, cool, without a chance or spar, or even a report of land to justify despair. Thank you.
Our next poet will be Kelly Williams.
It's The Little Towns I Like by Thomas Lutz. It's the little towns I like, with their little mills making ratchets, and stanchions, elastic web, spindles, you name it. I like them in New England, America particularly, providing bad jobs, good enough to live on, to live in families even. Kindergarten, church suppers, beach umbrellas. The towns are real, so fragile in their loneliness. A flood could come along, and floods have, and cut them in two, in half. There is no mayor. The town council's not prepared for this. 3 of the 4 policemen are stranded on their roofs. And it doesn't stop raining. The mountain is so thick with water, parts of it just slide down on the heifers. Soggy, suicidal in the pastures below. It rains in these towns, and because there's no other way, your father gets in a rowboat so he can go to work.
And last but not least, Jordan Nagel.
In the Desert by Stephen Crane. In the desert, I saw a creature, naked, bestial, who, squatting upon the ground, held his heart in his hands, and he ate of it. I said, "Do you like it, friend?" "It is bitter, bitter," he answered. "But I like it because it is bitter and because it is my heart."
From here, we'll take about a 5 or 6 minute intermission. The students can use the restroom, get water, get a snack, and we'll get everybody set up for round 2. Great job, everyone. Welcome back, everyone. We're going to start round 2. And to kick us off, we have Levi Barker.
To Helen by Edgar Allan Poe. Thy Helen is beauty to me. Those Nicean barks of your, was there something after that? I don't remember it. That weary way wanderer bore another. Yeah, I don't remember that. To his own native shore. Yeah. I don't think I remember the stanza at all. You know. Yeah, no, I don't remember that either. Thank you.
Our next poet is John Ciglar.
No, I wasn't meant to love and be loved by Mazur Adal Khan Ghalib, translated by Vijay Sasajli. No, I wasn't meant to love and be loved. If I lived longer, I would have waited longer. Knowing you are faithless keeps me alive and hungry. Knowing you faithful would kill me with joy. Delicate are you, and your vows are delicate too, so easily do they break. You are a laconic marksman. You leave me not dead, but perpetually dying. I want my friends to heal me, succor me. Instead, I get analysis. Conflagrations that would make stones drip blood, or campfires compared to my anguish. Two-headed, inescapable anguish. Love's anguish. Or the anguish of time. Another dark, severing, incommunicable night. Death would be fine if I only died once. I would have liked a solitary death, not this lavish funeral, this grave anyone can visit. You are mystical, Ghalib. And also, you speak beautifully. Are you a saint? Or just drunk as usual?
Next up, we have Kaden Colby.
Oh, could I raise the darkened veil by Nathaniel Hawthorne? Oh, could I raise the darkened veil which hides my future life from me? Could unborn ages slowly sail before my view, and could I see my every action painted there, to cast one look I would not dare? There, poverty and grief might stand, and dark despair's corroding hand would make me seek the lonely tomb, to slumber in its endless gloom. Then never let me cast a look into fate's fixed, mysterious book.
Our next poet is Kaia Colby.
On the Death of Anne Bronte by Charlotte Bronte. There is little joy in life for me, and little terror in the grave. I've lived the parting hour to see of one I would have died to save. Calmly to watch the failing breath, wishing each sigh might be the last, longing to see the shade of death o'er those beloved features cast. The cloud, the stillness that must part, the darling of my life from me. And then to thank God from my heart, to thank him well and fervently. Although I knew that we had lost the hope and glory of our life. And now, benighted, tempest tossed, must bear alone the weary strife.
Our next poet is Josiah Niemela.
The Arrow and the Song by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I shot an arrow into the air. It fell to earth, I know not where. For so swiftly it flew, the sight could not follow it in its flight. I breathed a song into the air. It fell to earth, I know not where. For who has sight so keen and strong that it can follow the flight of song? Long, long afterward, in an oak, I found the arrow still unbroke. And the song from beginning to end, I found again in the heart of a friend.
Next, we have Sophia O'Neill.
April Love by Ernest Dowser. We have walked in love's lands for a little while. We have line. We have learnt his ways. Line. And shall we not part at the end of the day? I don't remember. Line. Yeah. With a sigh, a smile. That's all I remember.
Next up, we have Izabelle Rollins.
Friendship After Love by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. After the fierce midsummer, all ablaze, has burned itself to ashes and expires in the intensity of its own fires, there come the mellow, mild St. Martin days, crowded with the calm of peace, but sad with haze. So after love has led us, till he tires of his own throes and tournaments and desires, there comes large-eyed friendship with a restful gaze. Word, please. Line, please. Ah, yes. He beckons us to follow, and across cool verdant vales we wander free from care. Is it a touch of frost lies in the air? Why are we haunted with a sense of loss? We do not wish the pain back or the heat, and yet these days are incomplete. Thank you.
Our next poet is Caleb Tremblay.
Jaguar by Francisco X. Alarcón. Some say I'm now almost extinct in this park. But the people who say this don't know that by smelling the orchids in the trees, they're sensing the fragrance of my chops. That by hearing the rumbling of the waterfalls, they're listening to my ancestors' great roar. That by observing the constellations in the night sky, they're gazing at the star spots on my fur. That I am and always will be the wild, untamed, living spirit of this jungle.
Next, we have Zoe Upward.
Life and a Love by Robert Browning. Escape me, never, beloved, while I am I and you are you, so long as the world contains us both, me the loving and you the loth, while the one eludes, must the other pursue. My life is a fault at last. I fear it seems too much like a fate. Indeed, though I do my best, I shall scarce succeed. But what if I fail of my purpose here? It is but to keep the nerves at strain, to dry one's eyes and laugh at a fall, and baffled, get up and begin again. So the chase takes up one's life, that's all. Well, look but once from your farthest bound at me, so deep in the dust and dark. No sooner the old hope goes to ground than a new one straight to the self same mark. I shape me, ever removed.
Our next poet is Emryn Vitello.
When You Are Old by William Butler Yeats. When you are old and gray and full of sleep and nodding by the fire, take down this book and slowly read and dream of the soft look your eyes had once and of their shadows deep. How many loved the moments of your glad grace and loved your beauty with love false or true? But one man loved the pilgrim soul in you and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars, murmur a little sadly how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead, and he hid his face amid a crowd of stars.
Next, we have Ella Weinmann.
The Wind Hover by Gerard Manley Hopkins. To Christ our Lord. I caught this morning, morning's minion, kingdom of daylight's dauphin, dapple dawn-drawn falcon, in his riding, of the rolling level underneath him steady air and striding, high there how he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing in his ecstasy, then off forth on swing, as a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend, the hurl and gliding rebuffed the big wind. My heart in hiding stirred for a bird, the achieve of the mastery of the thing. Brute beauty and valor and act, oh, air, pride, plume here. Buckle, and the fire that breaks from thee then, a billion times told lovelier, more dangerous, oh, my chevalier. No wonder of it. Sheer plod makes plow down Sicilian shine. and blue bleak embers. Ah, my dear, fall gall themselves and gash gold vermilion.
Our next poet is Kelly Williams.
I remember by Thomas Hood. I remember the house where I was born, the little window where the sun came peeping in at morn. He never came a wink too soon, nor brought too long a day. But now I often wish the night had borne my breath away. I remember the roses, red and white, the violets and the lily cups, those flowers made of light. The lilacs where the robin built, and where my brother set the laburnum on his birthday. The tree is living yet. I remember where I was used to swing and thought the air must rush as fresh to swallows on the wing. My spirit flew in feathers then. That is so heavy now. And summer pools could hardly cool the fever on my brow. I remember the fir trees darken'd high. I used to think their slender tops were close against the sky. It was a childish ignorance. But now, 'tis little joy to know I'm farther off from heaven than when I was a boy.
Our last poet of the night will be Jordan Nagel.
Buffalo Bills by E. E. Cummings. Buffalo Bill's defunct. He used to ride a water-smooth silver stallion and break 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pigeons just like that. Jesus, he was a handsome man. But what I want to know is, how do you like your blue-eyed boy, Mr. Death?
Okay, at this point, we're going to take a 5-minute intermission just to let the judges finish tallying up their scores. We'll ask our students to hang on just a little bit longer so that we can announce the first, second, and third place winners. We're really proud of what you did. That was an amazing second round. Great job, everyone. We'll see you in a few minutes. All right, everyone. I just want to give a few thank yous before we close out the night. My third, second, and first place winners, when I announce your name, if you just hang out, because we've got some thing of the things for you. Okay. First, I'd like to thank you parents and guardians. If you're watching or if you're not watching, thank you for supporting your students tonight. It's not easy for anybody to get up here and say not one, but 2 poems. And poetry is a really beautiful thing. And thank you for embracing it and for supporting your students through it and for dropping them off and being their Ubers to and from school tonight. We appreciate your support. Thank you, Mr. Dustin, Mrs. Estes, the custodians, and John Leclerc for helping me troubleshoot today. We had to move locales a couple of times. Thank you, Mr. Handy, for being our live streamer and our sound systemer. A huge shout out to our judges who come and do this some year after year and who graciously give up their evenings to support poetry and to support our students. And to Mr. Haley and Mrs. Miss Elwell, who graciously tally up our scores and make sure that our math is on point. So the first place winner tonight will go on to compete in the regional round. So they will be competing against other students in our region who also are winning their school competitions as they do their final rounds this week. So without further ado, third place goes to Miss Kaia Colby. Congratulations. Second place goes to Kelly Williams. Our first place winner of our 4th or 5th annual Poetry Out Loud competition goes to Ella Weinmann. Congratulations to all our participants. We're really proud of you. You're very brave for coming tonight and for getting up here. You should all be proud of yourselves. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.